Welcome to The Explainer. Tonight, we're completely turning off the lights and diving straight into the hidden and frankly bizarre mechanics of our sleeping minds. I'm talking about a world of surreal dreams, invisible brainwaves, and a brand new scientific discovery that totally flips our understanding of what it actually takes to get a genuinely good night's rest.
So, tell me if this sounds familiar. You do everything right. You get a full 8 hours in bed, but you wake up feeling completely, utterly exhausted. Or, on the flip side, maybe you only catch like 5 hours of shut-eye, and somehow you wake up feeling like $1,000,000. No way, right? It's this incredibly relatable sleep paradox. For the longest time, the mystery of why the physical duration of our sleep doesn't automatically equal that feeling of mental rest has absolutely baffled scientists and, well, tired people everywhere.
Okay, let's dive into this because a recent study published in PLOS Biology completely shatters the old conventional wisdom. For decades, the traditional scientific view was basically this: deep sleep equals a completely switched off brain. Slow brain waves, absolutely zero awareness. But this new discovery, it totally upends that. It shows that high, wake-like brain activity, when combined with highly immersive dreams, can actually result in the absolute deepest levels of perceived rest.
To wrap their heads around this, researchers at the IMT School for Advanced Studies LUCA zeroed in on a very specific phase of our night called the NREM2, or just N2 sleep stage. Now, what's wild here is that this single stage takes up roughly 50% of our entire night. It is a massive chunk of our sleep. And unlike that super deep, slow-wave sleep, N2 is just packed with broad variability, bizarre mental fluctuations, and of course, dreams.
So to figure out exactly what's happening under the hood, the lab setup was intense. They monitored 44 healthy adults across 196 overnight sessions. We're talking high-density EEG caps with 256 electrodes to track exact brainwave activity. And then they did something kind of annoying for the sleeper, but honestly scientifically brilliant. They repeatedly woke the participants up right in the middle of this N2 sleep stage to ask them right then and there what was going through their minds and to rate how deeply asleep they actually felt.
And you guys, the sheer scale of this experiment is staggering. They performed over 1,000 individual targeted awakenings. That's a ton of disrupted sleep for science, but it gives us one of the largest, most reliable datasets ever created that links specific brain activity with exact dream states and the subjective feeling of how deep that sleep truly was.
Now here's the absolutely crucial point they discovered from all those awakenings. The researchers realized that a highly active dreaming brain acts a whole lot like a virtual reality headset. These immersive dreams function as this incredible internal VR simulation. When your mind is fully engaged in a rich, vivid dream, it effectively blocks out the external world. You're completely disconnected from reality, and surprisingly, that profound disconnection is exactly what leaves you feeling so deeply rested.
And this brilliantly illustrates the hierarchy of our sleeping consciousness. Participants reported feeling the most deeply asleep in two completely opposite states, either complete unconscious blackness or a vivid, highly conscious dream experience. Even what they call rich white dreams, where you wake up knowing you had this complex dream but you just can't recall the specific details, those still resulted in a high feeling of rest. It's like your brain knows it was entertained even if it lost the script.
But honestly, the most bizarre and illuminating finding of the whole study was a state they called CESP, or a sense of presence. When people were woken up and reported just a vague sense of being there, just an awareness of time passing in a dark room without any actual dream narrative, they reported the absolute shallowest, most exhausting sleep. Literally just existing in the dark without a dream to occupy the mind leaves you feeling like you barely slept at all.
Which brings us to a massive key concept: perceptual immersion. For a dream to effectively act as that VR headset, to actually shield us from waking up and give us that deep rest, it has to be perceptually immersive. It needs to be rich, sensory, and emotionally intense. It has to feel real. The researchers noted that if you're having abstract, highly reflective, or thought-like dreams, like where you're just pondering concepts with high meta-awareness, those do not provide the same deep rest. You need the full sensory simulation.
Let's anchor this in the words of the study's senior author, Professor Giulio Bernardi. He said, and I quote, "The more immersive the dream, the deeper the sleep feels. It's a profound paradigm shift for neuroscience. The actual quality of your mental simulation is what counts. It fundamentally reshapes how your brain interprets its own activity. And remember, this works even if you wake up and completely forget the specific content of the dream. The sheer act of being immersed is the thing that heals you."
So how does this actually play out across the timeline of a typical night? Well, early in the night, your physical, biological drive to sleep, what we call your homeostatic sleep pressure,
is incredibly high. You are exhausted, right? So your brain doesn't really need to dream much to keep you under. But as the night goes on, your physical sleep drive naturally drops off because you've gotten some rest. So to keep you asleep, the mind compensates by ramping up the immersiveness of your dreams.
By the early hours of the morning, your biological sleep pressure has dropped significantly. Technically, you should be waking up. But because that dream immersiveness has become so incredibly high, your perceived sleep depth remains high right alongside it. The vivid dreams act as a buffer. They're like an internal scaffold, sustaining your feeling of deep rest right up until your alarm finally goes off.
And what's truly fascinating here is that this cutting-edge 21st century neurobiology is actually proving a classical psychoanalytic theory. Over a century ago, Sigmund Freud hypothesized that dreams were the, quote, guardians of sleep and not its disturbers. He believed they actively protected the sleeper from the outside world. And now, today's high-density EEG data is showing us exactly that. He hit the nail on the head.
Let's move to Thinnian and see how this builds in the real world. How do these dreams actually protect us? Say an external stimulus occurs in the middle of the night, like a door shutting or a dog barking outside. Instead of waking you up, your active brain instantly grabs that noise and weaves it into your dream narrative. Maybe in the dream, someone just dropped a heavy box. The brain actively quenches that arousal, allowing you to remain totally undisturbed and deeply rested.
Now, this research has some profound clinical takeaways, especially for people suffering from insomnia or sleep misperception. Remember those people we talked about earlier, the ones who sleep 8 hours but wake up feeling hit by a truck? Well, if their brain is getting stuck in that reflective thought mode and lacking this crucial perceptual immersion, their objective sleep data in a lab might actually look completely normal. Yet their subjective feeling of rest is terrible. Their brains might simply be failing to boot up this immersive VR scaffold to protect their rest.
So, to summarize the massive paradigm shift we've explored in this explainer today, sleep is not just some biological shutdown. It's a highly active, totally experiential process. The quality of your rest is intimately tied to the quality of your internal experiences. It's not just about how long your head is on the pillow, it's about how well you live and immerse yourself inside your own dreams. Which leaves us with a fascinating and maybe slightly provocative thought to take to bed with us. When you turn out the lights and close your eyes tonight, will your brain successfully boot up a vivid immersive VR simulation to protect your rest? Or will it leave you stranded in the shallow, thought-filled end of sleep? It's a bizarre mechanical reality happening right in our heads every single night. Sweet dreams, everyone, and thanks for joining me on this explainer.